Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. We have a pretty incredible guest with us today, one that I'm really excited to speak with. Her name is Dr. Nancy Rizzo, and she has 35 years of experience as a radiological therapeutic physicist and as a biophysicist, specializing in biophotonic technology and energy medicine, which some of you listening might be wondering, what in the world is that? You will learn all about that today and how it applies to you and your health. Nancy has a bachelor's degree in medical physics, a master's degree in radiological therapeutic physics. She received the Diplomat of the American Board of Radiology honor and then went on to pursue additional postgraduate studies and research, earning her Ph.D. in holistic medicine and biophysics. Welcome, welcome, Nancy. That is a mouthful. You've achieved so much. I'm so excited to speak with you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity here.
Would you be willing to share with us your journey, how you got to doing what you're doing today, and what you've learned over the years about this world of ours?
Oh my goodness, that's a big one right there. Let me answer that one just very briefly before we get into it so that people understand where I'm coming from. I do believe we're led by a higher consciousness that allows us to fulfill goals, dreams, and aspirations if we're tuned into it. And even when we're not, sometimes we can get a real kick, you know? So I had no idea about physics going in. I had, you do your high school work and you do some of your college prep classes, but it was really the last class in my last year that I took in physics. And I just, the instructor, and I'll never forget him, his name was Mr. Mackey. And it was so engaging. I just loved it. And then I was guided into medical physics, and because it would prepare me for medical school, which was, what my family, all of the aspirations, you go to medical school, that's what you do. So I went into that, and then I was guided to go into my master's program and did that. And before I finished that, I was actually offered my first job up in Petoskey, Michigan, where I was the only physicist of a whole hospital. The professor that was the head of my program, Dr. Colin Orton, he says, you can do it really. But it was a wonderful experience and was there for a couple of years, and then went to University of Michigan, enjoyed that for another couple of years, and really learned more about the clinical and technical aspects of how to really bring quality into what you were doing. But then I was asked to join Royal Oak Beaumont, which was another hospital. And at this time, it was more focused on what was called brachytherapy, where they put radiation actually inside of the body. Instead of treating externally, they treat inside the body and do it with high doses in a very quick fashion. So then I did that. The brief answer to how I got into what I'm doing now with biophotonics is that I saw a hand. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kirlian photography. Have you heard of Kirlian?
A little bit, I have, but maybe some of our listeners have not. Would you be willing to share what that means?
So Kirlian photography is where they used to take plates. It was actually invented in Dr. Kirlian, who invented it out of Russia. And it used to be these two big glass plates that had voltage applied to them and a film sandwiched between them, and then they could put things on top, and the electromagnetic interchange between that thing and the glass plate was imaged via the photography, the film. And I happened to be and never heard of it before. I was in a Unitarian church here in Arizona, and I saw this beautiful hand, a picture of a hand on the wall, and I said, what is that? And they said, oh, it's a Kirlian photography image. I said, my God, it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen, because it was colorized, it was gorgeous. And so I started to learn, and what was that? Researched it. I ended up ordering my first camera out of Russia and had it delivered to Mayo Clinic, and it showed up in a KGB-like briefcase, metal and all of that. And that was where history for my life. You went right turn, and I became fascinated with the ability of me literally taking Kirlian images of fingers and it telling me about somebody's health. And my parents were two of my biggest guinea pigs, right? So I figured out how to work all of this stuff, and I was watching my dad's and my mom's images and time and their energy over time. And let me just briefly tell you that when you are using a Kirlian type or coronal imaging system, is that you are putting your tissue in contact with a high frequency electromagnetic piece of glass. So there's energy put underneath the glass. It's totally safe to you. It's not invasive to you. But when you put your finger or your tissue in contact with it and you create a voltage impulse to that, it literally energizes your tissue. And what we are specifically energizing is your mitochondria. Mitochondria are your little energy makers that are in all of your cells except your blood cells. So it's how your body actually works. It's how your body creates electricity. It takes the air that you breathe, the water that you drink, and the food that you eat, and it creates energy. If anybody remembers from their biology in school, it's something called the Krebs cycle. And from the Krebs cycle, you literally create energy, and it's electrical and magnetic in nature. And it is a specific signature of you, which is quite remarkable. But anyway, long story short, parents being my biggest guinea pigs and me watching them over time, both of my brothers being doctors and thinking I was completely out of my mind. What are you doing? Can't believe it. So on a Christmas in 2001, I had noticed that my dad's left kidney signature became very, very exaggerated. I mean, it reached across the imaging window. And of course, I asked him, Dad, do you have any problem, any pain, any issues? Nope, I'm fine, honey. And I said, okay. So that was in December. Come January, asked him to have a CT scan. They see nothing. There's nothing there. And then we continued to progress. And the images are getting worse and worse. Come April of that following year, I asked him to go back in, even though he's asymptomatic. I said, fib and tell him you have pain in your left kidney. This time they saw a cloud in the left kidney and they wanted to do a biopsy, and I said no. So we brought him into Mayo Clinic. They did an MRI on Tuesday. On Friday, they did a nephrectomy, which means they surgically removed the left kidney. And pathology, which means the examination of the tissues, revealed 4 millimeters of kidney carcinoma. And kidney carcinoma is typically a killer because it goes unnoticed until it's too late. You can't do anything about it. And so I know that's how the angels were speaking. And if I do nothing else, I'm grateful for that having had happened to help my father. So when he's alive today, grumpy, but doing well, and no cancer ever to come back. But as you can imagine, being an oncology physicist, right, and you're dealing with cancer patients every day, and always wanting to say, how do we catch this earlier and earlier so that we can reverse the process before it becomes insurmountable, right? So that's what encouraged me. I had a benefactor then that allowed me to have money to come outside of Mayo, do a clinical practice as a trial run to see if my prototype at that time would go ahead and work, right? Would it serve? And within 16 months, then I was approached to say, okay, we want to commercialize the technology. And so from 2006 until 2017, we raised a little over $20 million, and we were able to get the technology through FDA. And so we did have to create our own division within the FDA as a new technology, and it is recognized as an electrophysiology measurement tool.
Well, I'm curious about how the field, electromagnetic field around our body, how does that impact what you see as energetic flow or a sense of harmony or disharmony inside the body? Would you be willing to kind of speak to us a little bit about that for those of us who are not yet as well versed on energy in general? And also maybe an extension of that, since we've had previous episodes on how emotions impact our energetic flow. if we can kind of weave that into the conversation.
Now you're getting into my very favorite area in the whole world, right? Because if people could understand the contribution of what their thoughts are playing, first of all, we can't get away. I wish people could understand the soup. I don't want to call it a fog, but most people would feel like they're walking around in a fog. But we have energy that is interplaying with us. Our body is not a concrete barrier. Just because my skin feels solid doesn't mean it's a barrier to the outside world. It is actually an interchange at all times. We're always breathing and exchanging energy through electromagnetics. It's always exchanging with us. And how thought has to do with it, again, at the risk of, I don't think it'll be boring to people, but early on, very early in my career when I first started this, is that I took people through a visualization experience. And I took them because I wanted healing, and what I have learned is very much about what you believe will be the outcome. Okay? And so taking people, and I would do their first measurement, thinking about whatever, okay, they're in, and this is different, this lady's weird, they're taking pictures of my fingers, okay, whatever. And then I take them through the very, very best day in their life. Is it when their child was born? Is it when they graduated? Is it when they got married? Who knows? It's different for every individual. But I have them concentrate on that, and we talk about it and tell me about it, live it, breathe it, experience it again while I'm scanning you, okay? And then we finish that. And then I take them through the day that they're diagnosed with cancer, okay? And for many people, that is the worst day of their entire life because it's game changing. They're having to learn a new language, and it's survival at its root cause. I'm going to die. What's going to happen to me? That goes through many people's minds, obviously, when they're diagnosed first. And so I take them through that in the scan. And when we're done, we now have 3 scans, and I'm able to show them visually, not just numbers, but visually, I can show them what their biofield, which is the extent of the energy exchange that we have that is coming around us. We can visualize that with this technology, okay? And so I am able to show them the power of their thoughts. And what's interesting is because I can show people not only their mental or their nervous system results, I can show them the physical as well. And so if the mental results can affect physical outcome, if at any time you believe there's power to your mind and power to your thoughts, your intentions, this is where you have the take-home message. And even with something that isn't as dire, I did something with Kansas City Royals. I did a couple of pitchers, the guys that were on the mound and pitching the game. And one of them, instead of being a physical issue, was a psychological issue. We did the same experience with him, and he went on to do really great things. So it's really amazing to watch people experience the power of their thoughts. So you asked how that works, intention and how you think about things. Your expectation plays a huge role.
Wow. So Nancy, we've had many episodes, as I said in this podcast, about intention or about projecting a certain energy, if you will, a certain belief, expectation, as you said. Never before have we been able to really measure that, as you're doing with this biofield. So what does it mean if someone were to see an image, so they have some version of evidence that their limiting mindset, their limiting thoughts are maybe impacting the field around their body? What does that actually mean for them, for their health, for their future?
Well, one of the biggest questions I'm asked about the technology is, okay, that's great, but what do I do about it? You're telling me this is the way it is, but what do I do about it? And to answer your question, if they can see the power of their mind, then at the very least, if they're out there and they catch themselves and recognize that they're in a negative mind loop, oh, this is going to be bad, this isn't going to work, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't feel well, catch yourself, turn it around and say, nope, I am telling my body, mind is the builder, spirit is the one that is the guiding us. You and I started our conversation as what is our message for the world. We are guided by a consciousness that is so loving and so profound that it's beyond our comprehension. But we all seek this loving. Loving heals. Love will, and that means love your body into health and take the time to find that peace. What does that look like for you? And I don't mean it to be this, oh yeah, okay, I love it and it's easy. I'm not meaning this light stuff or, oh, go just be happy. It isn't about that. It's finding the things. You and I both share HeartMath as part of the things that we do and the tools that help us in our lives. HeartMath has you focused on gratitude and breath to bring coherence between heart and mind. So what does coherence mean? That means your field becomes strong and in alignment with self so that there isn't any contradiction in the field, right? We have all of these different things. Yeah, but okay, I believe in that. That sounds good. Yeah, but what about what this guy says? Or what about this guy says? Find your truth. Find what you resonate with. Understand that language first. And even if it isn't what you would say, happy, understand that about you. This is where you're focusing. This is where you place your focus. And now let's work through your work, through my work. Let's turn that around. Let's help you see what would you really want to do? What brings your heart happiness? What brings your body, mind, and spirit into sync with one another? So that's what I would try to help people understand is that there's an interesting thing without us. I wrote it down early on. You've heard of the Institute of Noetic Sciences?
I have.
Institute of Noetic Sciences. It was started by one of the astronauts, and of course, his name is going right out of my head. But Dean Radin, who is one of the chief scientists there, did a study about consciousness being able to change random number generators. But he also talks about and this is in straight old physics books, right? It's called the dual split experiment, slit experience. I can get that out of my mouth, but it's about light being split, and you can see the two different patterns. Either it's a light that is a bullet-like, and it's very singular in motion, or it's wave-like. And it will change depending on who is witnessing the photons or the energy moving. Now, that means that there's a consciousness that is watching energy move. And it's amazing if you understood, and just from my experiences, right, measuring people before and after a scan and what your thoughts are, that's a profound experience for them that they can build on. Understanding that when they were finding that happiness, the body was resilient. It built, the immune system goes up, things change that are in a positive manner for them. So it all comes together.
This is absolutely fascinating. And you brought up the word intention earlier. And so help me understand, what is the connection between being in a coherent, empowered state, loving state, yes, where our field is expanding, and intention, right? So meaning if I have an intention to be healthy, to have a certain job, a certain income, something for my family and so on. If I'm in an incoherent versus a coherent state, what actually happens as I'm sharing that intention out into the world? Let's say I'm visualizing or reciting an intention. How does the field impact my ability to manifest the intention?
Well, like we were just speaking, when you have an intention, that means there's a focus. And that means that the field that is around you now has a coherent effect, which builds its strength to create the manifestation of that intention. If you are not intending with focus or with benefit to others, right? If it's something that is, you can be good or bad in your focus. That's a matter of how you wish to choose it. If it's the opposite of love, okay, that's your focus. But if you're focused in love, what I have seen and through happiness is that everything resounds, right? The whole body becomes stronger. But as far as my understanding and what I have worked with, the more focus you have with your intention in a positive, loving, I'm going to achieve this, or this is my intent, you tend to achieve it quicker and with more happiness along that pathway, because you know that each step is guiding you there. And that's also part of what you and I just spoke about a moment ago, intention, but listening. What's helping you guide you to manifest that intention? The intention is the focus.
Yes. Thank you. And so we have that intention, and we catch ourselves thinking a thought that might not feel good in the body. We say no, and we recite a more empowering, truthful statement. Yes. Like, for example, I accept that I'm doing my best, or, I'm getting better and better every day. Something that feels truthful and feels good. Yes. That is meaningful to me. What happens when I create that shift? If you were to scan me as I am shifting my focus, what would you see?
You would see that the body comes into heavier alignment when you are non-focused and there isn't an intention. The body is just dealing with the random thoughts as to what you get exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Oh, I drove to work, some guy cut me off. Now I'm in a pissy mood as I'm going forward, right? So what happens is the body starts to clench up. 90% of my patients are in the sympathetic mode, right? Sympathetic fight or flight mode. And when you bring that to their attention, yeah, especially now, my goodness, with everything that is going on in our world. And there's so much fear, and that fear breeds in some people an aggression. And I don't want to digress, but people need to be conscious of what this consciousness that they are holding. Do you want that to affect you? The guy cut you off. Okay, let it go. That's what is then, but don't let it affect you the rest of your day. Enjoy what you have. Bring gratitude to your moments so that you can be a blessing or a helper or a light that will shine for the next person that you come across. So what will show for your body? Your body will start to manifest a healing and a symmetry. When pathology or physiology is stressed with something, there's a higher asymmetry that happens energetically. So the body starts to shift left or right, okay? And the higher that shift, the greater the chances that there's something pathologically or physiologically wrong with you. So I'm able to watch that shift. And as you come into more coherence, the body becomes balanced left and right. And you can see it in the brain. You can see how agitated people can get. And when you bring them into a coherent state, I mean, that was one of the fun things initially with HeartMath, right? Do your breathing, and I can show them what coherence looks like. And so many people haven't ever experienced that, right? What do they know? How do they see it? But it's been one of the fun things about the technology. It's really been interesting.
Oh, it's so fascinating, because I think we intuitively know when we're in a feeling good, empowered kind of state versus not, but to actually see it as symmetry or asymmetry, it's that level of evidence that lets us know something we're focused on the inside is having an effect on our body and on what's happening energetically around our body. And therefore, the impact on our intentions manifesting into guidance or physical manifestations. I'm very, very curious if you're willing to share as to kind of, again, the scans, what would be seen if as somebody is doing a technique or modality like acupuncture or like EFT tapping or anything else that moves energy or unblocks energy in the body. Have you had an opportunity to test that in real time? And if so, what did you notice?
Well, a very good friend of both of ours that you and I both know is a Reiki master, right? And so She and I were both at Mayo a long time ago, and we did an experience early on with my prototype, right? And we said, okay, we're going to do a Reiki experiment. And so we had two groups of people. There were 20, separated them out into 10. They didn't know whether they were, and they had to be ignorant. They didn't know what Reiki was, okay? So Reiki is inviting universal energy in through a practitioner who is allowed to pass it on for the benefit of that person that they are working with to help and assist with energy blockages and so forth. Anyway, so we did that. So one person, another Mayoite that also did not know what Reiki was, she was our sham Reiki practitioner. And we asked her to think about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches while she just held her hands over the person's body. Peanut butter, jelly. That's all she did. And then our friend that was the Reiki master was in doing the other one. And we had her doing authentic Reiki. And then we switched them over. Of course, we're doing measurements before, and then we do measurements after, and did this on both days, right? And so to our great astonishment, that when I did the assessments for all of those measures, you couldn't tell the difference between them. And we go, why was that happening? And it took quite a while to figure it out. And so what is Reiki's principle? It is for the highest good for each individual. Well, we had 20 individuals. The highest good for each individual is different. It is not the same for each person. So fast forward 18 years, and we do this experiment again. We did it with 20 people. We separated them out into two groups, and again, double crossover experiment design. And one day they came in and they experienced relaxation. The other day they experienced Reiki by two different Reiki people, and we crossed those people over. And so here's the difference now with the Reiki, okay? Big difference. We had them hold the intention that we wanted the best outcome for this person to be for their heart chakra or the heart region of the body, okay? This is where we ask them to focus their energy. Now we do that assessment, and now we have significant factors on the order of 0.0001, where there is p-values, meaning significant values, that it's 1 in 10,000 that of this shift between, was it random? Is it by chance? No, the heart and lungs for those people and the heart chakra area itself was more significant and raised by a factor of 10,000 as compared to the rest of the entire body.
Wow.
We found, okay, that's pretty cool. You can read that. We have the, we wrote it up. I did not publish. It's a white paper that's on the website if you actually want to read about the experience. But I've done the similar thing with Qigong, which is rehabilitation, which teaches people movement, similar to Tai Chi, but with health benefit, but it's health, breathing and movement. And we've done before and after and done cardiovascular assessments, and shows how much it improves the breathing and so forth. So yes, there's many energetics.
Tell me a little bit about how you are using this electrophysiology measurement device, if I'm explaining it correctly.
Yep.
And how does that apply to kind of the everyday person that does not necessarily have an illness, as you say, maybe asymptomatic, or maybe there is nothing? What do people need to know?
Well, even if you're in perfect health, and God bless you for that, I'm just very happy for you, but wouldn't you love to know how your body's managing? And if you have a good relationship and an understanding of the language of your body, that's beautiful. This is a way for you to validate and build that intuition and that understanding of what your body is telling you. So it is truly a window into the energetic of your body. Only you understand your lifestyle. Only you understand, well, this is how much water I really drink on a consistent basis. This is how much ice cream I eat, or this is how much, sugar, or this is what I do. Only you know truly what your day-to-day is like. And so when you come into a measurement, I look at, and we can see the entire scope of the body. So there's 49 systems and structures. The report itself is 22 pages long, and it gives me one probable risk of disease of an organ system. And again, that's the portion that was FDA cleared and recognized for reproducibility and accuracy, that you have to prove to obtain that, right? But then it tells us, is the energy overproducing, underproducing? If you're ill, let me give you an example. You might go to the doctor and you have a normal blood test for your liver. Says, yeah, everything's fine. But I'm measuring you and I'm telling you, yeah, it's functioning normal, but it's really overloaded with toxins. It's struggling to do the work you're asking it to do. Or, yeah, it might be normal, but the alcohol that you're doing is really contributing to a toxicity, both for your digestive system, for the sugars that are coming in via the alcohol, and your liver's trying to cleanse. Or just forget the alcohol, the normal everyday toxins that people are exposed to. Okay, what assists you with that? It's your kidneys and your liver that help clean the body, as well as the lungs and so forth. You know, it's a whole concert. The whole body is a beautiful harmony. It's a beautiful concert. And let's find out if all of the instruments are playing in harmony, or if there's something that's playing out of tune. Does it need a little bit of help? How can we help it?
What are just a couple, before we complete, of specific tips that you can offer for our listeners to be at their healthiest, best self, right? And they're at their best state. Of course, in addition to noticing their thoughts and emotions and doing their best to stay coherent, what else can they do?
So the most important thing that I can tell all folks, without exception, is to drink water, but it has to be good quality water. Stay away from tap water. But one of the other things to be very aware of, and again, the tip is, if you weigh 100 pounds, then you drink half your weight in ounces. So if you're 100 pounds, you'll drink 50 ounces daily. The biggest trick to this is being consistent. So on day one, you might drink 20 ounces, and then you're really good for 3 days in a row. But on the 4th day, you only drink, again, 20 or 30 ounces. The body being a survival mechanism, it's not going to get used to using 50 ounces on a day-to-day basis for exchange with lymph and toxins to get them out of your body. It's only going to use what it knows it's going to get on a repeated basis or a consistent basis. So if 20 ounces is the minimum you typically will always drink, it's the 20 ounces that it gets exchanged in our tissues, okay? And this I have been able to measure, that if people increase their day-to-day consumption and are regular about it, it is so super and healthy for the body to help it get rid of the toxins. I mean, what you put in is what you get out. And if you don't put in much cleaning agent, which is your water, then you tend to build up in your toxins as well. Great book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. Bettman Gehaldi. And it's an amazing book. We'll give you some of that great feedback.
Thank you. And how can people learn more about you, learn more about the best scan, learn how more about the language of their body? How might they do that?
Best way is to go to the website, hun. So it's HealthECircuits.com. They can go there. They can read all about the scan. They can email me from there, sign up for the blog, sign up for a newsletter, and come and see me for a scan. I'd love to see you and meet with you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Nancy. I am just so deeply grateful for your time, for bringing even more evidence to things that we've talked about on this podcast, because it's hard to believe things that we may not be able to see or hear or feel. Yes, we can't hold it in our hand, but yet we can hold a scan image, a report in our hand to see what is happening when we're at a different level of consciousness, right? Different focus, different emotional state. And I wish for everybody to explore this further, because there's so much more about us, about our power as human beings than we have been taught. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much for the opportunity. I truly appreciate that opportunity. So.
Thank you, Nancy.